Hello viewers, and welcome to episode 20 of F1 Talk, and in this edition I eventually will be going over my preview of this weekend's Monaco Grand Prix. But first things first, I have a few bits of news from the world of Formula 1. I have it in a pad in front of me, so I'll get on with those bits of news before I give you my thoughts and predictions on this weekend's Monaco Grand Prix. So we'll begin with the biggest piece of news over the last couple of weeks, and that basically started as soon as the Grand Prix in Spain finished, and that was a huge fire in the Williams garage caused by a faulty KERS system. Some sort of coolant failed and caused a huge fire. They got the fire under control within about 20 minutes, but they did cause severe burns to a member of the Williams crew. They are now back in the UK convalescing, as you might expect. Obviously the FIA are launching an investigation into this, and quite clearly sprinkler systems, I would guess, would be in place from every race onwards, just in case of these fires. Why wasn't a sprinkler system in place as soon as the fire started? We can never know the answer to that question, but I would assume, in terms of safety, because Formula 1 has been all about safety for well past 15 years now, that we will have extreme safety measures put in pits and garages as far as fire risks are concerned. Quite a few teams have come out in the past week or so and said that consistency will win this year's championship. If you look on the previous video, you will find my tip for the championship this year, and quite frankly it will have to do with the, it's all to do with the most consistent. The most consistent wins every championship, whether they have multiple race wins or one or two race wins and then a load of second places. It's always been the way. But Christian Horner of Red Bull, the team principal of Red Bull, says most consistent will be champion. That's fairly obvious, but even more so this year. We've had 5 race winners, 5 different constructors, and that's how all of that's going through. Ferrari are also saying that consistency is the key to winning the championship. Felipe Massa already probably cannot win the championship. Any of the 24 drivers, as I speak to you right now, can win the championship. It's just the fact that there's only a few drivers that will win the championship. Alonso is one of those. He's equal top points with Sebastian Vettel. Vettel's top of the championship on results countback only. And obviously that will change this weekend in Monaco. So basically Ferrari believe that consistency is the key. They're going to need Massa to play the team game, play the number 2 game, and keep any title contenders behind him. We are certainly looking at a rush message to Felipe Massa, and that's another point I have to talk about. Felipe Massa has been given the must improve talk. Now, at one point in our lives we've always had a must do better talk, or must improve quickly, be it either in work or a school report says must improve. And Felipe Massa's time at Ferrari is limited unless he could pull his socks up and get some podium positions. His confidence has not been the same since the accident he had at Hungary in 2009, when a piece of Barrichello's brawn hit him in the head. And that leads on to another point I have to talk to you about, is that the FIA are seriously considering head protection for drivers. Now, I've noted this on the F1 official website and the BBC's website, which is basically where I get all my information from. But they are seriously considering either some sort of protect shell or cockpit canopy, or some sort of roll cage or something like that. But they have said that it will not impede aerodynamics. So basically, in the future, Formula One cars are going to be very much like the for those individuals that have played Gran Turismo 5, you will basically know what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a Formula One car with a sort of maybe a bulletproof glass canopy over it, over the driver's cockpit. If you look at pictures of the Red Bull X2010, and I shall provide some links in the description so you can take a look at it, but that's what I'm thinking is going to happen, just in case if anything like this happens again, which basically negates the reason for a crash helmet if you're going to make drivers drive F1 cars with these canopies. It's a fairly good idea as far as safety concerns put forward, but as far as the driver being able to see what the bloody hell's going on in front of him, then if you ask me, it's a bit of a disaster. But if the FIA are considering this extra protection to stop accidents like Massa in Hungary a couple of years ago from happening again, then they're going to do it. Extreme safety measures were brought in after the Grand Prix at Imola in '94 after Senna and Ratzenberger's death. So you've got to think about that, considering that they will be making this change probably sooner rather than later in terms of Formula One. I assume that these changes will be enforced. I apologise about that interruption, but basically that's what they're talking about as far as the improved head protection. We will see F1 cars from say 2015 say have these canopies, and they will begin to look more like the X2010/2011. As I say, I will be posting pictures of that in the video description. I'm just going through my list here. Hispania Racing Team are now permanently based in Madrid. They unveiled their new headquarters about a week ago now, and they are fully based, and actually they are the second team of the three newer teams in terms of size. They're a lot bigger than Marussia. Marussia, I've done my research, and Marussia are actually smaller in terms of stature and size, in number of squad members. So that's a bit of a surprise for me, that one. And now they have a permanent base, they say they will improve, and any chance of any of the three newer teams actually scoring a point in Formula One, I'm all for it. And if that's what they need to do to improve their chances, then again, I'm all for all the moves and everything. News with Sauber. Monisha Kaltenborn of Sauber, the sort of number 2, if you think about it in Sauber terms, she's now owner to the term of 1/3. Peter Sauber's sold 1/3 of his shares in the team to her, and now she is more involved with the racing and day-to-day running of Sauber as a team. She's been there since 1999, so a lot of trust built up over the years, and she will continue to move them forward in the future because she is very good at her job. I've actually seen her interviews on the BBC and F1.com. She is very good at her job, and quite possibly the future of Formula One in terms of female presence in the sport. So that was big news for her. Basically, the rest of what I have to talk to you about is actually about the Monaco Grand Prix itself, so I'm going to get on with that. Big news. Well, I wouldn't say big news, but it's news all the same. For the second year in a row, because obviously this is only the second year we've had DRS. DRS is banned in the tunnel again. That the drivers are not permitted to use DRS in the tunnel, even on practice and qualifying laps. It is said to be too dangerous, considering that the rear wing would be open and it would be too dangerous to go round the curve in the tunnel, because obviously it is a curve in that tunnel. Moving on from that, in terms of track position, the chicane after the tunnel has been made stronger, considering the crash that Sergio Perez had last year. So all of this is merging very nicely. Sergio Perez crashed in qualifying in session 2, I believe it was, last year, and he's been a heck of a lot better in terms of a driver. If you remember back to the 2001 season that David Coulthard contested in the McLaren, he finished second in that year's championship, and you know, before the say second or third race of the season, he was involved in a horrific helicopter crash, or a horrific jet crash, and it sort of took the fear out of his head, and he became a better driver and almost, I say almost, won the championship. Finished runner-up in the championship that year to Schumacher, and he had his best season. So sometimes a career-threatening crash can propel you to lose the fear, so to speak, and you drive faster. The other case is Felipe Massa, where this happened and he hasn't regained who he was. But Perez has definitely improved since that bad crash this time last year. And that's basically it. I'll give you a few little things here about the race. Now, the Monaco Grand Prix is quite frankly what Formula 1 is all about. It's not necessarily a sport anymore, but it's definitely a business, and I would assume that lots of business gets done the weekend of the Monaco Grand Prix. You know, race directors from other tracks would be there, you know, signed dotted lines according to Eccleston's wishes and things like that. But Monaco will always be in Formula 1. It was hosting Grand Prix long before the official World Championship began in 1950. You have to take into consideration that, you know, it may not be the best race, but it's certainly the most spectacular race in terms of the pomp and circumstance of the race. You always get the rich celebrities, the people that actually live in Monaco on the grid, because what other race can members of the public actually walk onto the track and, you know, actually walk the circuit? And speaking of the circuit, I know for a fact that, you know, through looking for F1.com, BBC F1.com, things like that, this year's McLaren is not suited to the track. Its aerodynamics are for more let's say speedy tracks, which basically tells me that McLaren are probably not going to do very well this weekend, and obviously they probably won't do very well at Valencia, and they will not do very well at Hungary. But the Mercedes of this season is suited to the track, so watch out for the Mercedes this weekend, specifically Rosberg. Schumacher has got something to prove as well after the disastrous season he's had so far. You know, we all thought last year Schumacher was going to improve slightly. You know, he had a 4th place in Canada. He was beginning to get his eye in again. He was beginning to be the real Schumacher again. But this year he's had some tangles with slower cars, through his fault or no fault of his own. He hasn't finished races, he hasn't picked up points. So Schumacher's got something to prove, and the last time he had a competitive car around Monaco, he actually destroyed his chances of winning the race because of that last corner incident in qualifying. So Schumacher with a bit to prove this weekend, and if the Mercedes is suited to the track as they say it is, then watch out for Schumacher and obviously Rosberg this weekend. that's more or less it. I will give you my, even though they're not worth a damn squib at the moment, but I will give you my predictions for the race. We will see passing. We have begun to see passing out of the tunnel into the chicane in the past few years, because drivers have had to get past opponents. I think the Saubers will go pretty well. I also think the Red Bulls will be rather competitive this weekend as well. There seems to be a lot of teams that their cars won't be suited to the track. Like I say, the McLaren. I'm thinking the Lotus probably won't be suited to the track either, although I have been impressed with their two drivers in the last few races. You have to take into consideration the tyre degradation. They're probably going to be using the super softs and the softs this weekend in terms of tyre pound, as they did last year. Try and set up some more interesting racing. Like I say, DRS banned in the tunnel, so you won't get passing out the tunnel, which basically leaves the start-finish curve, because there's hardly any straights at Monaco, and that's why the McLaren's not going to be competitive this weekend. So look for the McLarens in the later half of the points. Look for the Red Bulls to come back, because I mean, obviously the best aerodynamic package for Monaco is a downforce setup. You've got to be you've got to have a good car. Red Bull have got a brilliant aerodynamicist in Adrian Newey. So I am actually going to say Mark Webber will finally get his eye in. He'll get the pole position, but Sebastian Vettel will win the race. I can't actually give you any proper predictions, because all my predictions so far this year have been 100% wrong. So, you know, there's my preview of this weekend's Monaco Grand Prix. Just a short note that I will be reviewing the race sometime next week. I will try and get the video up as soon as I can next week. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you for the results of the Monaco Grand Prix next week.